Good morning. This is the Blaine's World webcast that can be found each week on Facebook, YouTube, and LinkedIn. You can also listen in on Spotify or Apple Podcasts. Get more information, find out about past shows at my website, which is behind me, blainesworld.net. I'm your host, Blaine Greenfield, and we're here in my Zoom studio in lovely downtown Fairview, North Carolina. Each week, we focus on cool things that are happening in both Western North Carolina and throughout the country. And toward that end, it's my pleasure to talk about an upcoming play at SART, or Southern Appalachian Repertory Theater. And it's the title, I love the title, guys. It's what I think I can read it. The Stinky Cheese Man and Other Fairly Stupid, what's the last word? Tales?
Tails.
Tales. Okay,
Yes.
great. And so before we talk about it, I'd like to introduce my guests. And they are from, I guess, left to right, or however you want to look at it. They are Amanda Hargen, Cody Eugene, and Katie Parsons. And you can wave to all your fans and friends who are watching this, guys. Okay, this is the three of them. Great. And they are in this show that's going to be at SART upcoming. I'm your host again, Blaine Greenfield. And I'd like to talk a little bit about this show. But first of all, I'd like to talk about the three of you. And so in no particular order, I guess I'll ask Amanda, in terms of being in theater, you've been in other shows before?
This is technically my first show in the theater. I am an improviser, first and foremost.
Okay. Yeah, you and I were talking, I think, off the air about that, some of the improv work. But the first show, I love how you did it. I love it how you said the theater. I love how you,
Theater.
I love that accent. Let me ask you, even improv work, when you were a kid growing up, where did you grow up?
I grew up in Florida.
Okay. And when you were a kid growing up in Florida, did you always know you wanted to be in improv and then eventually theater? Was that your goal as a kid?
It was never my express goal. I was always a ham, though. I mean, I was the kind of kid where if you said, and this is a real thing that happened, hey, I'll buy you an ice cream if you go sing and dance on that empty stage at this theme park at Busch Gardens, I would do it. So I've always been
No
a goof.
way.
It's kind of not Cody, but it's kind of good to know. And, so I'm going to ask you, would you now sing and dance on Blaine's World Show? We'll have you do it right now. It's just, I'm not going
I
Absolutely.
don't think I can do
Is
it.
there a waffle cone at the end of it? Because if so, yes.
But is that cool? But it's surprising. So you did that as a kid, but you never acted until recently. How come you never got into acting?
It just wasn't something that was part of my sphere. I did band, I was in marching band. I did speech communication as my major in college. So there were public speaking, being in front of people aspects, but it just never dawned on me to pursue the theater. I don't know.
Well, it's funny you said that because you've also told me in your quote spare time, you're a teacher. Is that correct? Or have
It's
been a
true,
teacher?
yes.
Do you still teach?
I do. I teach ESL.
Okay. So one of the things I spent most of my life teaching, and one of the things I loved about teaching, you're performing all the time. So you're in front of a class and you have like an audience. And the nice thing about it, it's a captive audience, so you're not going anywhere. So you've been performing in front of the classroom. What got you into this play? Or you sort of noticed for an audition, or what happened?
So one of my friends in improv said that there were auditions happening, and he said, "You should go audition." And I didn't ask any questions. I said, "Okay." And that is what happened. I auditioned and then got offered the Stinky Cheese Man, and it has just been a delight from there. It's just all been sort of random.
And lastly, you mentioned you have improv work. Who do you do the improv stuff with?
So I improvise primarily with Misfit Improv out of Asheville. So it's a theater and an acting school run by Jillian Bellinger, lovely, wonderful improviser.
Okay, and how long have you been doing that?
I have been improvising with Misfit, oh my goodness. I will say since 2023, so 2 years.
Okay, really cool stuff. And have you performed with them as well?
Yes, I'm on their musical improv cast and one of their long form casts.
Okay, very good. So we'll look forward to seeing you in Misfits. But I don't know, Cody, if you and Katie know about it, but really cool. Have you ever heard of Cody or Katie?
I
They do
have,
really
yes.
cool stuff and great training. I don't know if you guys are interested in being actors, but great training for actors as well. So I'll turn to Cody. Same kinds of questions. Cody, as a
Yeah.
kid, you grew up where?
I grew up in northeastern Alabama, a very, very small town.
Okay. And
So, yeah.
again, as a kid growing up, were you into acting at all?
I began acting at the local community theater, which was also connected to the community college when I was, I guess, about 14 years old. So, yes and no. Younger than that, I'd done a couple little things at my high school, but yeah, it's been a lifelong thing.
Well, I want to put you on the spot, and this idea you can share with Janice and
Yeah.
other people that saw it. I have this great idea, Cody, for a fundraiser, and I want
Okay.
some theater, could be SART, it could be your one in Alabama, where everybody would recreate their very first role. Okay, like for example, do you remember your very first role? Even
um,
even earlier than in the high school, that people came to see you in.
People can just, oh Lord. Well, I mean, do church pageants count? Because I did
Sure.
those too. No, I think my first named role I would say was Baby John in West Side Story.
Oh, very good.
So
Okay,
yeah,
do you still remember that part?
I do. Yeah. Well, okay, I could say parts of it. So,
Wouldn't that be cool? So that part, for example, is there videotape of that anywhere?
uh, um, no, there's
Oh.
not.
So here would
Yeah.
be your opportunity if SART does it. I'll let the three of you tell SART to do this to create, and I've offered SART this. I'll help run it, but that'd be your chance to recreate the role. So you can have SART. Everybody would recreate their very first role. So think about that. So you then acted as a kid in pageant. I remember. I was in the story of Christ, whatever. I was disappointed. I wanted to be baby Jesus, but I couldn't get, they didn't give me the role. I was so crushed. So instead they made me a jackass, I think, in
Yeah.
typecast. But anyway, so after you started acting, then in high school, did you act throughout high school?
I did, yeah. So at the community college, I would go there through high school and I would act, and they offered me a scholarship. So I did my first 2 years of college there. And then I moved on to the Savannah College of Art and Design and finished out my BFA. So I was there for
Then,
3 years.
do you have a favorite role you've ever done,
Favorite role I've ever done?
or one of your
Oh,
favorites?
Lord. Yeah, I would say his name was the red-haired boy, and it was in a show called Babette's Feast, and it was a
Okay,
completely silent show except for a couple times where we would sing.
okay, that's certainly challenging. And lastly, do you have a bucket list role, some role you'd like to do in the future?
A bucket list role. Oh Lord, have mercy. Um, I would like to play pretty much anyone in Boys in the Band. I think that would be a fun show to tackle, and I think all of them would be interesting in their own way to be able to play.
Yeah, you've been done several times locally, but it's a great show, so that'd be something. And I'll ask
Yeah.
Katie the same question. Katie, as a kid, you grew up where?
I grew up in Asheville, North Carolina, so
Okay.
literally right here.
No, what's kind of unusual is you don't meet too many people who actually born in Asheville and stayed in Asheville. So you
Yeah.
grew up in Asheville. Did you go to school in Asheville?
I went to school in the county schools, so not in Asheville city schools, but I went to school here, yes.
Okay. And so, as a child, same question. When you were growing up, did you want to be an actor?
Pretty much always, actually. I started doing acting when I was very, very small, and I just kind of never left it.
How small? What was the
Um,
first thing you were in?
the first thing I was in was The Little Mermaid, and I think I was 6, maybe 7, somewhere in there.
Where were you in The Little Mermaid?
Asheville Community Theater.
Because I didn't realize that because they're doing, as you know, they're doing Little Mermaid. I'm going to see it tomorrow, I think. So I know they did it years ago
They did it a very long time ago, and I think it might have been the junior version. My memories of that first show are very foggy. I'm going to be very honest.
because I hear that the new version is very good. Like I said, I'm looking forward to it. So Little Mermaid, do you remember your part in that?
I was just in the ensemble, but I had a lot of fun because I got to dance, and that was great.
Okay, very cool. So that was your very first role. And now, did you go high school? Did you continue acting in high school and beyond?
Yes, I'm currently going into my sophomore year at South Carolina School of the Arts. I'm majoring in musical theater, so I'm still doing it.
Okay. And same thing, do you have there, do you have a favorite role you've been in?
I think this is a high school show, but I
Sure.
got to play Mary Poppins in Mary Poppins, and absolutely amazing. It was so fun. It
Oh,
was
big,
amazing.
great show. So did you were Mary Poppins?
Yes, sir.
And did they do the whole show or a kid's version?
We did the full version, and we figured out a fly system too, so that was really cool.
Very ambitious show. Where'd you do that?
North Buncombe High School.
Okay, I'm sorry I missed it, but that's quite a production to do. And so you're still now acting, and so you went to the audition at SART for the summer, and you got chosen for this. Was that it?
Yes, sir.
And you had been behind the scenes before, or had you done anything else?
Uh, yes, sir. I've done some stage management work, and I've done some light and sound work, and I've been in the booth a lot for SART for the past couple of seasons.
Okay, very cool. And so this is the first show you're going to be acting in. Um,
Um, I was in
and-
Oklahoma earlier this season, and I was in Charlotte's Web, the other kids show
oh,
last. But this is, yeah.
you were in Oklahoma.
Hmm.
Okay, I don't know if Cody or Amanda, did you get to see Oklahoma?
It was fantastic.
Yeah, great production. Wow. I should have looked for you in Oklahoma, but I'll in this show. So let's talk about then this show. So I'm not too familiar with it, Amanda. You told me you were familiar with the book.
Yes, it is a children's book by John Glor, and it is about fairy tales that are not quite fairy tales. They're a little off kilter, a little off balance. So, for example, instead of Chicken Little, we have Chicken Licken. Instead of Little Red Riding Hood, we have Little Red Running Shorts. So everything's just a little off balance, and it's really fun.
What was it? Was it TV or Mad Magazine? But they used to have a series called Fractured Fairy Tales. You ever hear that? I'm trying.
Yes.
What was that in? Was that on TV or Mad or something? I can't remember where I saw it. Cody, you remember it?
I remember that, but I don't remember where seeing it either, though. But I do remember clips of it.
But as I'm hearing, this is sort of the premise of this. These are like not fairy tales as everybody knows them.
Yeah, fairy
Correct.
tale. Yeah,
Yeah. So if people are watching this, then Amanda, I guess they're comic fairy tales, would you say? Is that a good way of describing them?
Absolutely. They are fairy tales that are big and outlandish and try to violate your expectations of what a fairy tale should be.
Is there music with them also?
Yes, we have songs that we sing. The tunes are recognizable, but the words are altogether different.
And so the music then, is there is there a track or is there live music on this?
So we have tracks that we sing to.
Okay, very cool. So then, Cody, let me ask you then, in this production, how many parts do you play, or just one?
I'm playing four parts, so I'm in four different fairy tales, and then a couple other little spatterings of being like a townsperson. But
Very
yeah.
challenging. Have you done that before? I always give actors a lot of credit. So I've only been in a couple of shows, have like one or two lines, which is too many for me. But you actually
Mhm.
had four parts. Is that tough to play four different parts?
Developing the characters in that sense, yes, but once they're down, like you're able to switch between them and you have the different costumes. So you get to shed your skin and put a new one on. And so it's easy to flow into those different characters, especially because I have a little bit of time between each of my scenes. So it's not just like an immediate, and there are visual cues that I'm a different character. But I found it to be very fun, and I do like the challenge of it than just having a singular role throughout the entire show. So I think it's fun to go do that.
Is that the most number of characters you've ever played in a play?
This is the first time I've had so many named characters in a play that I am like leading the scene pretty much. But no, I've done this type of stuff before where I have several different characters in a show.
'Cause I don't know.
Ensemble pieces.
'Cause I don't know if you've seen it, and the three of you, but the thing that amazed me when two actors have like 25 parts enroll. Have you ever seen those kinds of plays? It just blows me away that they can do that. What are your characters? Who are the four characters we can look forward to seeing you perform?
Yeah, so I'm playing the prince, I'm playing the frog, and Rumpelstiltskin and legal guy.
Okay, interesting.
So,
And
yeah.
same thing to Katie. So how many roles do you have in this play?
Hold on. I think I also have four, but don't quote me on that because I'd have to count them out loud.
So do you remember? You don't have to remember all four of them, but what are some of them?
I'm the Little Red Hen. I am um, Goosey Lucy. I am Cinderella, and I am the Queen.
Okay. So I like how you kind of moved up in progression, so once you become the queen of the show. After your acting, have you ever done that many parts in a play?
I've never had the chance to do that actually, but that's okay. This is a fun experience.
Okay, it is. And Amanda, same thing too. Have you ever done, well, no, this is the first play, but I guess improv, you're doing all sorts of plays. In this play, how many parts do you have?
I have really one part. I am Jack, the narrator, and I am just trying to keep everything together. I'm trying to put on a good show, but these characters are making it so hard for me to do that. Um, so yes, I'm the puppeteer. I like to think of myself and the inefficient and ineffective puppeteer.
So you mentioned too, I think off the air, aside from the four of you, there are nine other people in this. So that's a lot of people you're kind of managing and getting on and off the stage at one time. Um, and they all, I guess, manage to do it. They're all in. So how many different sketches or skits, is that how you would call them, are there approximately?
Oh, how many scenes are there? Um,
There's the prince.
Oh, a bunch. Okay.
Chicken Licken,
Yeah.
Prince, Dragon.
There's at least probably about 10 or so, probably more than a couple more than that.
So it sounds to me, Cody, if people are watching this, they're not going to be bored by this. They'll be able to maintain their interest.
Oh, definitely. You're just going to get just enough of the fairy tale to make you say, "What is this?" And then it's going to change, and you're going to be getting something else that's just off the wall coming out of left field. So.
Well, let me ask you this, Cody. Who would you say this would be? Who should see this show?
Definitely children. It's theater for younger audiences. So bring all the kids, but adults are going to love this too. When I've talked about it with friends and stuff, the adults that remember reading this as children, they're like, "Oh my gosh, I didn't know it was a play," and get excited and want to come watch it. And there's so many adults now that love watching cartoons, and this is just a live action cartoon essentially. So like think like a Looney Tunes thing where you have different stories come along in it, and so it's so fun. Everybody will enjoy this and find something to laugh at. So
And let me ask you this, Katie, both for this show and you mentioned Mary Poppins as well. Did you then go before you started the rehearsals for the show? Did you then go back and read all these fairy tales, or did you know all of them? Were there any new to you?
So I actually never read the Stinky Cheese Man, but I knew all of the fairy tales individually, specifically the older versions, because I had like a phase where I needed to know the
Right.
original the
Me
fairy tale.
too. Yeah.
Um. Anyway, but I had to go back and read the Stinky Cheese Man, and the entire book is just a hoot. And I was reading clips, like bits of it, to my dad because he was in the room with me, and why not? And he was cackling, and so I definitely think it's geared toward younger audiences, but I don't think it's necessarily for younger audiences, if that makes sense.
Well, you raised an interesting point, and I always wonder in terms of like a show, you mentioned Mary Poppins. Um, Before you were in Mary Poppins, did you then go back and see the movie, or I always wonder, is that a good or bad idea to prepare for something, to see something, and I'll ask Cody the same thing too. Good or bad idea? What do you think, Katie?
So I did not go back and watch the movie because I love Julie Andrews. Do not get me wrong, but I did not want to copy Julie Andrews.
Right.
I actually read the books for Mary Poppins, and I just saw how I perceived that in that way, and then I like tried to emulate that a little bit more.
So in general, I ask Cody because you've been in a bunch of shows. Cody, before you're in a show, would you then go back and read the book or see the movie, or if there was a movie version?
it depends. Sometimes I would, sometimes I would not, because though I don't want to copy another actor, seeing how they played it, and it helps me at least to get my juices flowing, being like, oh, okay, that's a really good idea how they, the choice they made there. a different choice that I could make that might, elevate it or just change them, change it up a little bit. But I really love seeing other actors and what they do with roles. And I know that I have picked from the world different gags that I do because, everybody is so funny and there are different things that everyone brings. And, it can help you mold a character a little more.
So in this one, then, I assume there was never, I don't know, there was never a movie of this. Is that correct?
Not that I know of.
But you mentioned, different roles, different characters. So on this one, which is kind of exciting, we'll get to really see your serious dramatic chops. We'll get to see the real
So dramatic, yeah.
boys in the band, and then this. It would be hard to choose, which is more serious. But I love it. You guys are laughing. So I ask Amanda the same thing too. When you're in rehearsals, are you cracking? Do you laugh at rehearsals, or is it cracking up when you watch rehearsals?
Yes, we're definitely laughing backstage, trying to keep the laughter down. And then, still in rehearsals, occasionally breaking. Just yesterday, Cody and I completely fell apart because we were laughing so uncontrollably. I promise you, we'll keep it together for the show. But yes, we are having a blast in rehearsals.
And I guess that's the difference between this and doing improv work. That here you at least know what you're doing. In improv work, right? You never know what you're doing. Is that it?
Yeah, you go in with a blank slate and you're open, and it's more about discovery. But I would also say that that's very much applicable to theater, and it's been so cool to have a similar process in rehearsals where as we do the scenes over and over, discovering new things, that's like a very improvisational spirit. So there has been overlap in that way, which has been really cool.
And that's why I'll encourage both Cody and Katie. If you have either of you done improv work before?
I have, yes, in college, but not like Amanda does. So.
Okay, Katie, have you ever done improv work?
Other than just like for classes occasionally, nope.
Because on Courage, I've heard, again, I'm not an actor like you folks are, but I've heard that's a great way to get acting experience, do improv. If you can do improv, I guess, and Amanda, you know this best, you're not going to be thrown by anything that happens on stage. If something happens, right, it's not going to throw you too much. And Katie, it reminds me, it didn't happen in Oklahoma, but years ago, I took my daughter to a high school production of Oklahoma, and when Judd dies, they bring him off the stage and they drop him, and you hear a big thud. Everybody in the audience says, Judd is really dead now. So, I mean, that's where the improv, I guess, comes in. You have to be able to adjust to something. Talk also, if you would, Katie, about the process. So I'm familiar with your director, but I'll let you mention her, hopefully in positive terms. You're working with Janice Vertucci. Is it, what's her last name? Where she goes, what? Janice Vertucci Schreiber? Is that it? So talk about how long you've been in rehearsals.
Um, Rehearsals haven't been going that long. We've only been here for a few weeks. I don't remember how many. I will be so honest, the days are running together.
Sure.
June 3rd.
June 3rd, but who counts, right?
Got it? I don't.
But, yeah. So
But
on June
sorry.
3rd. No, I'm sorry. On June 3rd. So you started rehearsals. How often are you in rehearsals?
We're in rehearsals until like almost every day. Not every day. We get breaks, I promise. But like 5 to 6 days a week usually. And then tech week it's a little bit more because we have to add the technical aspects into the show and not just the people on the stage. Um,
And so how long are the rehearsals?
it differs every day. But I think like the average is like 4 or 5 hours, somewhere in there.
Wow. So a lot of work you put into this. When you do the rehearsals, do you do every scene or just your scenes?
Um, it sometimes we like spot check pieces or like individual spots that are like trouble spots, and then sometimes we do run throughs. It depends on what Janice needs us to do that day and what she needs that feels that we need to work on, or if we need to work on pacing, or if we need to work on trouble spots. It really depends on the day. Every day is slightly different.
So how long overall the show runs about how long?
About an hour and 30 minutes with an intermission and like an hour 15 tops without one.
Good. Because one of the great things about the show, and you have me kind of looking forward to it, is as I get older, I like shorter, So I like hour 15 minutes. I like, and even with the intermission, the shorter the better. So people will be able to stay up for this, or at least I will. And talk about that, Amanda, in terms of the run is going to run. It starts when?
We open on Monday, June 23rd. That's the correct day, right? I'm checking.
Okay.
Yes.
Yeah.
Okay. And it's a daytime show. So curtains at 11. I think that's the theater term. Help me, actors, help me.
You're right.
Okay.
So it starts at it's only 11 o'clock every day.
It's 11 during the week, and I believe, oh, Blaine, you're showing me what I don't know. Let's see.
Well, I'll make it easy for you. We'll tell people can look it up too. If you would, that'd even be better, Amanda. So if people want information going from the week. Is it every day that week?
It is. I have the schedule up right now. Yes. It is the 23rd through the 29th, and it is 11 a.m. on weekdays, and then 2 p.m. on Saturday and 4 p.m. on Sunday, our closing performance.
So that's pretty ambitious. So for a full week run, which is kind of nice. Um, and talk about it. It's going to be at the main theater or the Black Box Theater.
This is in the Owen Theater.
Okay, very
So,
nice. Yeah, I know they have a upstairs. They have like that Black Box Theater. I don't know if you've ever seen it, but so that's so the main stage for the week, Monday to Friday. So it's great, and I guess specifically then for kids, and that's why it's in the daytime. People want to get tickets. What do they do, Amanda?
they should hop on the internet and go over to the following website, sartplays.ludus.com. Truly, a Google search for SART Plays will bring them to the website where they can get those tickets. And I do believe, I just want to check this before, is it not free for 12 and under?
Yeah,
Yes.
that's what I think.
Okay.
So I'm glad you mentioned that. So if I can try to SM11, I get a free ticket. Is that it? That's the idea? Or
Yeah.
you laugh, Cody. I wonder if they're going to be able to, they're going to be checking IDs, just the reverse.
You pass, you pass.
You pass. Well, I digress. As a kid, you could take the Long Island Railroad and it's free. Same time, it was like half price if you were under 12. So everybody would say they're 11 or whatever. Then a conductor once stopped a friend of mine, said, "How old are you?" Said 11. When was your birthday? And he gave the wrong date. So instead of saying, he said saying 2 years later, he said 2 years younger and make him like 17 and they kicked him off the train. So I remember if you want to come to SART, make sure you get the date. I have to figure out, you got me thinking, Cody, which is a good sign. What year do I have to say I was born, to get them for free? But that's pretty cool. And even for adults, I think it's very reasonable. I think, what was it, $10 or something? I think it's a very reasonable price. Talk also, and Katie, I guess you have the most exposure at SART, but theater, Owen Theater. I guess any seat is going to be a good seat when you sit in that theater.
That house is amazingly built, and almost every seat is equally as good as the seat next to it. I've sat in all over that house for multiple different shows,
Right.
and I've never once found a bad seat. There's not a bad view.
Yeah, and it really is cool, and it's a beautiful. You were not there probably before until they renovated it, but it's a beautiful theater now, and they've done a great job with it. The other thing nice, I guess, people want to come up to Mars Hill. There are a lot of cool things they can do in Mars Hill too. Place to lunch, or I haven't been there yet. There's a new ice cream place in Mars Hill. Have you been there yet?
There is a new ice cream place. It is absolutely delicious. They like specialize in like homemade ice cream, and they do ice cream sandwiches on like homemade cookies. They're really good.
Where is it? I haven't been there yet. Where is it?
I don't remember what the place is called.
But just Google
Sorry.
search ice cream in Mars Hill. But great way to want to take kids or grandkids to it. And that's really cool that kids and grandkids get under for 10. That's a pretty nice thing they're doing. I'll ask you both kind of a final question here. And Katie, you might know it best, but SART is just a great theater company in Mars Hill. Um, what do you know what else they're doing or what's coming next, or even right now? Talk about what's now.
Um, right now they are playing A Streetcar Named Desire, which is absolutely amazing. I saw it last week. Um, seriously, that is one of the best shows I think I've ever seen. Please go get tickets. That's not me trying. That's not a shameless plug. I promise. Like I
Well,
would.
accepting, I can't believe you said that though, Katie, because that even tops Mary Poppins. Yeah, you
Um,
said.
yes, 100%.
Okay.
I enjoyed it, but it might not have been the best show I've ever seen.
Okay. But anyway, so they're doing Streetcar Named Desire. They have other shows this summer. Is that correct?
Yes, they do, and I can't remember what order the season is in. One moment.
But anyway, just
Well,
as you're looking up,
Cody is in the next one.
why
Oh, noise is off.
what
I am, yeah.
what are you in, Cody?
Noise is off, and that'll be playing mid-July.
Well, I'm really impressed because again, you're getting a second chance to see your serious dramatic chops. Is that it?
Oh, yeah.
So, okay.
Yeah, that's all I do. Serious dramatic.
Well, let me ask you this. I'll ask Katie. I'll ask Katie this as well. But Cody, that must be tough though. So you're in a show and you're in rehearsal for another at the same time.
Yeah, the rehearsals for Noise is Off just started this week. So I did have 2 weeks of just rehearsing for Stinky Cheese Man. But yeah, this week has been it's been a lot. Like the interns have been going for 12 hours a day. And then like there have been a couple days this week where I'm like getting up there on hours because we come in for daytime rehearsals for Stinky Cheese Man. And then I've just hung out and stayed until rehearsals for Noise is Off start. And we're not getting out until about 10 o'clock every night with that. So been long days, but it's so much fun. I love being in the theater. So
Previously, even in Alabama, I give you and other actors so much credit. Have you ever were you ever working at 3 shows at a time? You're in show, rehearsal, and then starting readings for another one. Have you ever had to do that?
I do not think I've done that particularly, but I have been in a couple plays and filming a project or two when I was in Savannah at SCAD. So similar stuff, yes, working on multiple different projects at a time.
Have you ever been in 2 plays at the same time?
Yes.
Okay.
My first internship, I was in, Alice in Wonderland, and we were also doing Midsummer Night's Dream on the main stage.
Okay, that's
So,
pretty intense. Men, same thing too, Katie. Have you ever done 2 shows at one time?
I'm pretty used to it at this point. I did it pretty consistently in high school and middle school. I would be in rehearsals for one show while another show was on the stage, and I just kind of kept them in rotation for a while.
Wow, I give you credit. The other thing that I give everybody credit for, especially at SART, is they don't have like long rehearsal times. I don't know if you've acted, well, Cody certainly has acted elsewhere, but other places have like 6 week, 8 week rehearsal stretches. SART does it in a couple weeks. You said June, you started early June and you're up in later June. That's pretty intense. So what is it when you're in that show, Katie or Cody would know it? Do you have to have the part memorized before you begin rehearsals? Is that the goal?
we did not have to have the parts memorized before we came in. I definitely had started picking at the characters and started to develop stuff for them and came in with a lot of it in my brain, but was still working on finalizing it because I wanted to be able to play with other actors and see what they were going to bring and how my characters would react. But I tried to come in with a good chunk of it in my mind already, at least the character development stuff.
Okay, the same thing too. Before a show begins, like you were given the script how far in advance?
I'm usually given the script like a week or two in advance. But sometimes I read more than others. It depends on how busy I am. But I always do try and read the script through and like mark my lines and figure out like basic character stuff before I come in. But I'm not always necessarily memorized because I have a lot of difficulty memorizing without having blocking. That's who I am as a person.
And so, Katie, Amanda, excuse me, the same thing. So it's actually the first time you've been in a play that you've had to memorize. Like teaching the beautiful thing, you don't have to memorize. It's a lot of improv work. You can do. Is this the first time you had to memorize a plot?
I would say yes, and it's been so fun because I'm running the show. So it's not just the first time memorizing lines, it's the first time memorizing a ton of lines. So, but it's been a really fun challenge. I've really enjoyed it. And it's like same with Cody, coming in with like ideas, but just being open to, what happens in rehearsal informing the character.
So the final questions, series of questions I'll ask you guys, and this has been great. But in terms of after the show is over, I know Cody, you're already working on, your next play, Noises Off.
Yeah.
You have anything beyond that slated?
Not yet, no, but I do plan on continuing to audition in the area to see what else comes along. But yeah, right now, Noises Off is the next thing that I have on board.
Now, I should ask both the two of you, Cody, are you considered then, is this an intern production? Or are you considered an intern this summer? Is that what they call you?
I am not considered an intern. No, Katie is an intern. I came in as a professional actor to
Oh,
SART. So
professional actor. And one of the things I really do admire about SART is as a quote professional actor, and I believe in this, hopefully it's true that you get paid. You don't get a lot of money, but at least you get something. And I really give
yes,
all theater credit because it kind of bugs me. Other people do stuff and they don't get paid, Um, I don't know about you, but I just have a strong belief in this. And I never understood that musicians get paid everywhere, but actors don't, which is kind of strange, I think, a little bit. And so, Katie, the same thing. So you're an intern. What does that mean, or what does that entail?
I for this particular internship, I am required to do build crew and help work with costumes and props and basically be well rounded. We also work in the box office. We have a rotation of things that we need to do. Um, so like every portion of theater that needs to get done, we at least have part of our hands in. It's more of a learning experience than else.
Well, I think that's great, though, is to get all these experiences, in terms of whatever theater career you eventually go into or try. So that's really fantastic. And so after this show, are you in anything else that saw it this summer, or you have anything else planned?
I'm not on stage for anything else at SART this summer, but I am stage managing Smoke on the Mountain. So
Okay. And talk a little bit about people who don't know what a stage manager does, kind of crucial role. What does a stage manager do?
So, stage manager is basically in charge of being the bridge between the tech crew and the performance pieces. So, like, the stage manager is the only person that has their hands in lighting, sound, costumes, um, directing, and with the actors, and they are able to like communicate to all of them effectively and organize information.
And we'll give a shout out to the stage manager. Who is it for this show?
Marley Bishop, we love her.
Okay. Well, no, thank you for
Marley.
mentioning that. And of course, I'll give Amanda a final chance to give a shout out for your director. And again, the director of this show is.
Janice Vertucci Schreiber, our fearless leader, the captain of our ship. Without her, we would be hopelessly lost at sea.
Okay. Well, yeah, I gave you the chance, so when Janet sees this, she'll know we put in the good word for her. You don't have to tell me the truth off the air, but at least on the air. Thank you for mentioning that. And one last time, the show runs. If you would, Amanda, give me the dates and then how to get tickets again.
Absolutely. The show runs June 23rd through the 29th. That's Monday through Sunday, and you can get tickets at sartplays.ludus.com.
Okay. And if people want to get tickets, that's usually the best bet, even though probably last minute they can come in and get tickets. And I really have to, Cody gave me my assignment. I really have to work, I'll ask both of the two of you in terms of I have to work being younger, that's tough. Have you ever, I guess, what's easier as an actor, Cody, being young, play younger or older?
Oh Lord, younger because I've lived that, so I know what it is to be younger. I don't know what it is to be older yet. So
Okay,
I
great.
would.
Same thing to Katie. Mary Poppins is an example. Easier or more difficult to play older or younger?
I've always found it pretty easy to play older. The way that I present myself on stage naturally, but without a character or anything, is usually pretty mature and standing up straight. So I find it really easy to transition into an older character. But my like regular personality is pretty like bouncing off the walls, bubbly.
Okay. And if people want to keep track of you, is there a best way to follow you on social media, or on Facebook, Instagram? How to follow you?
Um, my Instagram is Katie M Parsons. which is just my name. It's pretty easy to find me.
No, but one of the things that drives me Instagram is half the people don't have their names, which I don't understand, right? You can't find their persona. If you want to find Katie, you can track it under Instagram. Cody, if they want to track you, what's the best bet?
Yeah, my Instagram is Cody Eugene 91.
Okay, and I'm glad you shared that because that differentiates you between Cody Eugene 91 and 92 and 90. So
Yeah, there are different ones of us. So
okay, exactly. And same thing too, Amanda. If people want to keep track of you.
My Instagram is hopelessly difficult. It's at Hargfignugan. So I don't expect anyone to get that. It is a ridiculous name.
No,
Ridiculous name.
but that's what drives me crazy because I want to follow you. It'd be hard to maybe she's giving us the message, Cody and Katie. She doesn't want to be followed, So
Here's the thing. Here's the thing about Instagram. You can just type my name and it'll pop up and you'll see me. You don't even have to know Hargfignugan.
oh, really? I didn't
Yeah.
realize that. If you just type in the name, thank you
Mhm.
for sharing that. And one last thing too, if you want to keep track of Amanda, we'll give a last chance to give a shout out for the improv group you're in and mention that as well.
Absolutely. So, Misfit Improv, we are performing at NC Stage in downtown Asheville throughout the summer. I would also like to take this opportunity to plug Adesto Theater. I will be doing improvised Jane Austen with them in September. The end of September, which will be really fun. And I know some of the actors who have done other productions at SART are involved in that as well. So a lot of cool improv things happening.
Wow, it sounds very exciting. I don't know the theater. Where is that?
NC Stage is in downtown
I know.
Asheville.
Oh, so that's where the performance will be. And
Yes.
okay, well, thank you for mentioning that. And thanks, guys. It was a lot of fun. I appreciate you joining me on this version of the Blades World webcast. Also, like to thank my producer, Cappy Tassetti. And hopefully, I'm going to see if I can get to this show next week. Lots of luck with it.
Thank you so much, Blaine.
awesome.
Thanks,
Thank
guys.
you.